Good afternoon, everybody. I am back in town after a little bit of time at a conference. I'm meteorologist Edward Shaw. We're going to be looking at what exactly we're seeing right now, as well as what you can expect going into tomorrow. So let's start off with the now. You see where we have a little bit of that snowfall coming in, primarily in south side, some areas up into the New River Valley, and maybe eastern Roanoke with a few flurries here and there. We've gotten probably about an inch to an inch and a half at the station, but areas further to the south definitely seen more snowfall from this system. So let's look at that. Here's our snowfall reports for the area, and some of which that continue all the way down into the western Carolinas and into Tennessee, but as well towards the Outer Banks, where you can see that there is a few areas where we have some coating of snow. We've seen it in parts of northern Corolla, all the way down into Hatteras, and further south, there's more snowfall on the way for them. As for us, well, still continuing here for the next few hours, but we've had reports of various totals. 3 inches down towards horse pasture in Henry County, another about 4.7 in Patrick. Roanoke, southwestern Roanoke has had substantially more, about 2.5, and then some of the higher elevations as well have seen some more snowfall. So certainly still a lot more that we're watching as this system moves through. But we haven't seen as much further to the east as initially expected, especially towards central Virginia, and I'm going to show you why. So first off, let's take a look at the radar estimates for some of these snowfall totals. And what you're going to notice over the last 24 hours is essentially the heaviest snowfall extends all the way down the 221 corridor into Hillsville and along 58 further down into parts of Stewart and as far east as Martinsville. Now, I anticipate totals going up a little bit more out towards Martinsville and into Danville here over the next few hours as this system moves a little bit further to the east. However, what you're going to notice is the further east you go into the central part of the Commonwealth, you don't see all that much snowfall, if any. Only reports of a little bit of a trace down towards South Chesterfield and towards Petersburg, but up into Richmond and north of 64, whole lot of nothing. Much different story further to the south, though. Again, you see where the southern Outer Banks all the way down into Hatteras and Havelock are really starting to see some substantial snowfall, around 4 to 8 inches, as well as in parts of south side where we're seeing totals pretty on point with what we expected here over the next few hours. Now, with that being said, why are we seeing these totals a little bit lower than what we saw here initially a few days ago? Now, for most of us, we're pretty on point with what we were expecting to see. But let's look at the water vapor in the atmosphere right now, and this will give you a clear sign as to why we've seen lower totals further out to our east. Over the last 3 hours, let's go over that real quick. What you're going to notice is a dry slot almost forming right into the center part of the Commonwealth. That has been a lot of this dry Arctic air coming in and really causing for a lot of the snowfall we've seen further to our east to melt before it even hits the grounds. That is indeed a thing, despite the fact that temperatures are so much colder down towards the surface. But because of the interaction between the snowflakes and that dry air, it doesn't stick all that well. Now, going into the next few hours and what exactly we can expect to see, it's going to be a little bit more of a chilly front here, and you could see what we're going to notice is winds are going to be kicking. You see south side still dealing with a little bit of that snowfall here even as we go 6-7 o'clock, but then as we go into tomorrow morning we start clearing out. Winds still brutally windy, and combined with temperatures that are going to be in the teens for most of the area, it's going to feel a lot colder than it actually is. We'll get to that here in a second. By about 5 p.m. Sunday, 26 degrees there, 32-mile-per-hour winds, so gusty throughout the day tomorrow, and we're going to be dealing with some brutal cold, which is going to lock all this snow and ice that we've seen over the past week and a half into place within our area. Going to about 3 a.m. here on Monday, 16 degrees there, still cold, and then we'll get a little bit more sunshine, and Monday marks the first chance where we could see temperatures briefly get above freezing. But again, still quite some time there. Your highs for today, again, in the 20s and teens throughout most of the area. But when you combine that with lows tonight that are going to get down into the single digits in parts of the NRV and up towards the highlands, it's going to feel a lot colder than it actually is when you combine that along with the winds. Tomorrow, high temperatures further to the east, a little warmer in the low 30s, to upper 20s in Roanoke and parts of Southside, and then the teens and 20s in the NRV, all the way up into parts of the highlands. So, let's talk about those wind chills, because tomorrow morning is going to be brutal. As for today, well, we're mostly feeling like we're in the teens right now, but watch what happens overnight tonight. Wytheville, Pulaski, Blacksburg, all feeling like they're in the negatives because of the combination of that wind, but also the bitterly cold temperatures. It gets worse tomorrow morning, 7, 8 in the morning. We're looking at wind chills that drop down into the negative 20 region in parts of Floyd and Hillsville, and possibly into the negatives as far east as Lynchburg. Look at your high temperatures in the single digits down towards the NRV and up into the highlands, in the teens in most of the area by early tomorrow morning. We get a little bit warmer further to the east towards Danville and South Boston, but really it's not going to feel too much warmer as the winds are still going to be kicking here. Same goes for Monday morning, but then by Monday afternoon, we start getting a little warmer, so certainly going to be a little bit more melting there. But again, as we go into the overnight hours, going to be watching as those temperatures will again dip below freezing, so got to watch for some refreezing here over the next few days as well, even though we have temperatures on Tuesday getting up above freezing within our area. Some of the warmest weather, if you consider 39 degrees warm, for Tuesday. And then for the rest of the week, a couple more systems that we're watching, not expected to be anything like this one or even the last one, but certainly watching Friday pretty closely and going into next weekend closely. But as for the short term, a lot of sunshine here Sunday and Monday, but still going to feel bitterly cold within our area, just given the wind chills dropping down into the negatives. So with that being said, a lot of the roads, full credit to the local areas, a lot of roads have been cleared. But again, some of those back roads you may want to look at and be a little bit more careful on because they may still have some snow and ice on them. But as for most of the main roads, the highways, interstates, and some of the main roads that go in and out of some of the downtown areas, a little bit safer. But further to the south side, just keep that in mind. More snowfall there, and a lot of this is going to freeze over the next few days continuously, which could lead to some dicey situations from here and there. But overall, looks like we're going to finally warm up a little bit more going into Tuesday, but still have a couple more systems coming along with